Today, on 27th October 2025, NASA just released the clearest image ever of 3I Atlas, and the entire scientific world is in shock. The photo, captured by the James Webb Space Telescope and cross-verified by ESA's Mars Express, shows details no one expected to see. The object's glowing core isn't behaving like a comet at all. Instead of scattering light randomly, it's pulsing, slow, deliberate, rhythmic, as if responding to something. Within minutes of NASA's release, the image spread across every major news network. Astronomers, researchers, and even casual skywatchers are calling it the most important cosmic discovery of the century. What has people frozen isn't just what the image shows, but what it suggests. 3I Atlas appears to be rotating with impossible stability, its spiral coma expanding in near-perfect symmetry. Data from both Earth and Mars confirm that it's releasing faint energy spikes near the 1420 MHz hydrogen line, the same mysterious frequency where the legendary WOW signal was once detected. That single detail reignited a 50-year-old mystery, one that scientists thought was buried forever. Could this be a coincidence, or are we witnessing something that was meant to return? The timing, the alignment, the behavior, everything feels too precise to ignore. As images continue to come in, the world is holding its breath. Social media feeds are flooding with speculation, theories, and raw awe. Was 3I Atlas always a comet? Or is it something far beyond that? A messenger, a vessel, or even a seed from another civilization? For the first time in history, telescopes across two worlds, Earth and Mars, are watching the same object from opposite sides of space. The question is no longer what 3I Atlas is. It's why now? Why, after half a century of silence, did something from the same region of the galaxy return, pulsing, glowing, and looking straight at us? For months, the world had followed 3I Atlas, the mysterious interstellar object racing through our solar system. Most of what we knew came from NASA. Their telescopes had first confirmed the object's strange speed and hyperbolic path, proof that it came from beyond our solar system. The James Webb Space Telescope analyzed its light spectrum, detecting traces of water vapor and carbon dioxide long before it ever neared the Sun. NASA's early reports described it as unlike any comet or asteroid ever observed. Then all of a sudden, the updates stopped. On October 7, 2025, while NASA's data channels went dark, the European Space Agency stepped forward. ESA released the clearest photos ever captured of 3I Atlas, taken not by deep space telescopes, but by the ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter and Mars Express, two probes orbiting Mars that had never been meant for this kind of observation. To capture the object, engineers pushed their instruments beyond design limits, adjusting software, extending exposure times, and redirecting their communication systems to detect a target over 100,000 times dimmer than their usual focus. When the first image appeared, it stunned the control room. It showed a faint sphere of light surrounded by a misty halo that shimmered against the blackness of space. The object didn't reflect sunlight like a comet. It glowed softly as if something inside it was alive. ESA released the photo to the public within hours, describing it as an unexpected pattern of light behavior. At that exact same moment, NASA went completely silent. The high-resolution imaging science experiment, HiRISE camera aboard the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, capable of the sharpest planetary imaging ever made, suddenly stopped transmitting data. No new updates appeared on official NASA channels. No explanation was offered. The shutdown of the U.S. government was the reason given, but the timing raised eyebrows everywhere. To the public, it looked like two worlds colliding. On one side, ESA, transparent, open, sharing every image and every calibration file. On the other, NASA, silent, dark, and unreachable. One agency handed the mystery to the world. The other shut its doors. Even more curious was what NASA had last shown before going dark. Days earlier, the Perseverance rover had captured a faint streak across the Martian sky, believed to be 3I Atlas during its approach. NASA confirmed the sighting but never released the high-resolution version. It was said that HiRISE could have captured the object with a clarity unmatched by any other camera in the solar system. But when ESA's photos appeared, NASA's feed froze mid-update. ESA, meanwhile, invited the world in. They published the raw data and even encouraged citizen scientists to process the images themselves. Yet hidden inside ESA's data was something no one could explain. The path of 3I Atlas wasn't random at all, and its alignment with the planets looked almost deliberate. When astronomers plotted the orbit of 3I Atlas, they expected chaos. An object arriving from another star system should have entered our solar neighborhood at a random angle. Instead, what they found left even the most experienced scientists speechless. The path of 3I Atlas was almost perfectly aligned with the ecliptic plane, the flat disk on which all the planets orbit the Sun. Its tilt was only 4.8989 degrees, a difference so small that it had less than a 1% chance of happening by coincidence. No other interstellar object, not even Oumuamua or Borisov, had ever traveled this way. That was only the beginning of the mystery. As the data came in from multiple observatories, another pattern appeared. The object had passed near Mars, Venus, and Jupiter, the only 3 planets positioned for ideal observation at that exact time. It wasn't just close. The timing was almost surgical. When Mars was at its nearest point for ESA's orbiters to observe, 3I Atlas swept by within 18.6 million miles. Weeks later, it approached Venus at the best viewing angle for Earth-based telescopes. And by late October, Jupiter's massive gravity lined up perfectly to give a potential slingshot trajectory toward the Sun. To many, it looked like a cosmic coincidence. To others, it felt planned. One researcher called it the perfect flyby. The more scientists analyzed the trajectory, the more questions surfaced. If 3I Atlas had entered from deep interstellar space, how did it find a path so precisely matched to the solar system's geometry? And why did it cross the planetary plane at the exact moment our most advanced probes were able to see it? Some experts pointed to gravitational dynamics. Small nudges from passing stars or galactic dust could alter an orbit over millions of years. But even that didn't explain the accuracy. Simulations showed that for 3I Atlas to appear exactly where it did, the odds were less than 1 in 10,000. A few theorists quietly began to ask whether the alignment might not be an accident at all. The public reaction grew louder once ESA's data became open source. Online forums exploded with visual models tracing the orbit, showing perfect lines between the planets as if following a pre-programmed route. Headlines called it the most suspicious trajectory in modern astronomy. And yet, with every new observation, the mystery only deepened. Because 3I Atlas wasn't just moving precisely, it was accelerating. That acceleration would soon reveal even stranger behavior. Changes in speed, light, and composition that no comet or asteroid could mimic. From the moment the first detailed data arrived, the behavior of 3I Atlas began to challenge everything we thought we knew about comets. Scientists estimated the nucleus of 3I Atlas to be somewhere between approximately 320 meters and 5.66 kilometers across. Based on images captured by the Hubble Space Telescope from July 2025, that size alone would make this interstellar visitor far larger than many known comets. Yet it grew even stranger when researchers combined size with motion. Despite clearly shedding material and releasing dust and gas, 3I Atlas hardly showed any of the wobble or thrust we would expect from an outgassing body. In a typical comet, jets of vapor act like tiny rocket thrusters, nudging the nucleus slightly off its path. Here, the implied acceleration was so small that scientists calculated the mass must be immense, enough to resist those forces, pointing to a mass estimate of 33 billion tons or more. Even stranger was the way it reflected light. Polarimetric data showed 3I Atlas has an extreme negative polarization branch reaching a minimum of 27.7% at a phase angle of approximately 6 degrees to 7 degrees. This feature is unprecedented in comets observed in our solar system and implies its dust or ice grains are shaped or composed in a way unlike any known object. And the chemistry too betrayed oddities. Spectroscopic observations found that the object contained a relative abundance of CO2 early in its journey and noticeable water ice grains, even when more than 6 astronomical units from the Sun, far colder and darker than typical comet territory. It also lacked iron where we'd expected and showed dust grains behaving more like those in trans-Neptunian objects than classic comets. In short, it looked like a comet, but didn't act like one. The combination of size, mass, light reflection patterns, and composition forced many researchers to ask, is this simply a strange natural body, or something else entirely. One astrophysicist described the object as a record breaker, in every sense, because it outmasses previous interstellar objects by orders of magnitude and yet behaves more like a spacecraft than a snowball of ice and rock. Of course, the predominant view remains it's natural, just extremely unusual. But even among scientists, the word unexplained keeps coming up. And as 3I Atlas continues its journey toward perihelion, the gap between expectation and reality only widens. Are we witnessing a new class of interstellar visitor? Or is this object simply rewriting the rule book for how comets form and move? Next, we'll look at a connection so odd it borders on cinematic, the link between 3I Atlas and the famous WOW. Signal from 1977. When astronomers mapped 3I Atlas's trajectory, one detail immediately stood out. Its entry point into the solar system was only 9 degrees away from the source of the legendary WOW signal detected in 1977. That signal, a mysterious 72-second burst of radio energy, came from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius. It was so strong and clean that researcher Jerry Amon circled it on a printout and wrote one word beside it: wow. No one ever heard it again. For nearly 50 years, scientists debated whether it came from a comet, a passing satellite, or something beyond human technology. But none of the explanations fit. The signal arrived from a region with no known objects and disappeared before it could be confirmed. Now, an interstellar object was entering from almost the same point in the sky, and unlike any other comet, it behaved with timing and precision that felt too perfect to ignore. At first, most experts called it coincidence. But when ESA and James Webb released their new light spectrum data, a few noticed something strange. 3I Atlas was emitting faint fluctuations near 1420 MHz, the same hydrogen frequency where the WOW signal had been detected. It wasn't a transmission, just subtle light variations, but it was enough to raise eyebrows. Teams at the SETI Institute began comparing archival data. When they plotted the direction of the 1977 signal forward through space, it crossed the very region from which 3I Atlas emerged in 2025. It created an eerie possibility. What if the signal and the object were connected by time rather than chance? Some researchers quickly dismissed the idea, saying radio noise and comet chemistry could mimic such readings. But others argued the pattern was too clean. The WOW signal had matched a frequency that hydrogen naturally absorbs and emits, often called the universal calling card of intelligent life. If any civilization wanted to be found, that's where they would send a message. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb suggested a thought-provoking angle. What if messages across the stars don't come as sound or code but as objects? Objects that travel, display anomalies, and carry meaning through motion itself. If 3I Atlas were such a message, its near-perfect alignment and unique light behavior could be the language. Public fascination took off. Online forums filled with comparisons between the two events, their coordinates almost overlapping on star charts. Some called it the return of the signal. Others saw it as poetic chance, a cosmic rhyme rather than a pattern. Still, one fact remained. Both the 1977 WOW signal and the 2025 appearance of 3I Atlas came from almost the same corner of the galaxy, both showing signs no natural process could fully explain. Whether coincidence or connection, the echo between them reignited one of astronomy's oldest questions. Are we really alone? Or has someone been trying to reach us all along? After the strange link between 3I Atlas and the WOW signal, scientists started searching for a deeper answer. Some began to think that maybe this object wasn't just trying to communicate. Maybe it was trying to create. This idea is known as the planetary seed theory, and it completely changed how people saw 3I Atlas. The theory says that life in the universe might spread from one world to another through space. Pieces of rock, dust, or ice, called seeds of life, could travel between stars, carrying the ingredients needed to start new worlds. These seeds might hold frozen microbes, chemical molecules, or even the building blocks of DNA. If one of them landed on a young planet with the right conditions, it could spark a brand new biosphere. When astronomers looked again at the data from 3I Atlas, they noticed details that fit this theory almost too well. The first clue came from its chemistry. Spectral readings revealed large amounts of organic carbon, methane, and water ice, all key materials for life. Even more surprising, it contained complex hydrocarbons, which usually form only after long exposure to cosmic radiation. That meant this object had likely been traveling for millions of years through deep space, holding on to its chemical layers like a frozen time capsule. Then came the second clue: how it behaved near the sun. Most comets start breaking apart under heat, but 3I Atlas didn't. Instead, it released smooth, rhythmic bursts of gas, almost like a slow heartbeat. Each burst spread tiny particles rich in carbon and water into space, forming a thin, balanced cloud. It looked less like something falling apart and more like something spreading life. Computer models later confirmed that this pattern could help microscopic particles travel incredible distances, exactly what a seed object would need to do to plant life across the stars. Supporters of the idea pointed to what already happens in our own solar system. Meteorites from Mars have been found on Earth, and some even seem to contain ancient microbial fossils. If life could travel between planets here, why couldn't it happen on a much larger scale, from one star system to another? In 2023, a European astrobiology study showed that bacteria can survive for thousands of years in space, frozen in total darkness. That discovery gave the seed theory new strength. It meant that 3I Atlas could actually be part of a natural process, or maybe even a designed one, that carries the ingredients of life from world to world. Still, not everyone agreed. Skeptics said that seed doesn't have to mean scent. They believed the object could simply be debris from an ancient collision, random, not intentional. But others thought the details were too precise to be coincidence. When researchers traced its path backward, they found that 3I Atlas may have come from the habitable zone of another star, possibly Kepler 452, a system known to have Earth-like planets. If true, that meant this visitor had traveled billions of miles across interstellar space, carrying the chemistry of life from another world. If 3I Atlas really does contain prebiotic material, then life itself might not be unique to Earth. It could be part of a much bigger story, one where living worlds are connected, not isolated. And that changes the question completely. Maybe the real mystery isn't just where 3I Atlas came from. Maybe it's why it came now. Because as telescopes continued to watch its glowing trail, something new appeared. Light from 3I Atlas began pulsing in even intervals, slow, deliberate, and impossible to ignore. Was it reacting to the sun or to us? That was the mystery scientists would have to face next. By early October 2025, 3I Atlas had moved so close to Mars that it entered the planet's orbital path. It wasn't captured by Mars' gravity, but its approach, just under 19 million miles away, gave astronomers something they had never experienced before: an interstellar visitor passing through a perfect window for direct observation. For weeks, telescopes on Earth had struggled to track the object, its faint glow often drowned by background stars. But around Mars, things changed. ESA's ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter and Mars Express were already circling the planet, and their position turned out to be ideal. At that moment, Mars lay between 3I Atlas and the Sun, giving both orbiters a clean, glare-free view into the dark. Engineers quickly reprogrammed the orbiter's cameras to chase this faint target. ExoMars extended its exposure time far beyond what it normally used for studying Martian dust storms, stacking multiple images to build brightness. Each frame revealed a pale white dot surrounded by a soft haze. The first clear images of 3I Atlas ever taken from another planet's orbit. Mars Express followed next, using its visual monitoring camera to confirm the sighting. Even though the object was over 100,000 times dimmer than the Martian surface, the probe captured a glowing core with a faint tail stretching outward. The data matched what ground telescopes on Earth were seeing, proving that the object was releasing gas and dust in pulses rather than random bursts. For scientists, this was a turning point. The Mars orbiters became the closest human instruments ever to record an interstellar object at work. They could study its brightness, track its velocity, and even analyze the chemical signature of the gases it released. This unique vantage point allowed scientists to test how such objects behave when passing near a planet, something never done before, ESA later. confirmed that 3I Atlas maintained its course perfectly after the flyby. It didn't slow down or alter direction, a sign that its mass and structure were far more stable than any known comet. The event was called a once-in-a-century opportunity, a perfect alignment between a passing traveler from another star and the technology orbiting Mars as 3I Atlas continued its journey toward the Sun. The data from Mars told a deeper story. Its light flickered with precision, and its trail carried more carbon compounds than anyone expected. For astronomers watching from two worlds, it was clear. This was no ordinary comet. What exactly was it preparing to show us next? When ESA released its images and open data, the reaction was immediate. Across every major observatory on Earth, the race to study 3I Atlas began. It was no longer just an interstellar visitor. It had become the most closely watched object in modern astronomy. It kept its focus from Mars. Both ExoMars, Trace Gas Orbiter and Mars Express continued to track the object as it moved deeper into the inner solar system. The images they captured revealed faint changes in the color and brightness of the coma, signs that something inside was shifting. Each transmission from Mars was processed in near real time, and for the first time in history, the European agency opened raw telemetry data to the public. Meanwhile, on Earth, the James Webb Space Telescope redirected its instruments toward 3I Atlas. It recorded light curves that showed repeating flashes every 11 hours, suggesting the object was rotating with a rhythm similar to a heartbeat. NASA scientists confirmed the data but offered no public explanation. It was the first acknowledgement from the agency since its silence began weeks earlier. Other nations joined quickly. China's Tianwen-1 probe caught sight of 3I Atlas as it passed near Mars, confirming the same flashes of light. The UAE's Hope orbiter also gathered data, providing valuable infrared readings of the gas surrounding it. For the first time, cooperation between rival space agencies became unavoidable. Every country wanted to understand what 3I Atlas really was. By late October, the European Southern Observatory and ALMA in Chile reported a new discovery. Radio scans showed that the object's emissions were not random. Instead, they pulsed at regular intervals, echoing the same 11-hour pattern found by Webb. This led some researchers to wonder if the emissions were natural resonance or a form of synchronization. The world began to take notice. News networks called it the most international observation in human history. Public interest skyrocketed as open-source astronomers started uploading their own analysis online. Hundreds of amateur observatories joined in, using small telescopes to track brightness variations and compare data with official agencies. For the first time, the study of an interstellar object became a global project, something beyond politics, beyond borders. But not everything was open. While ESA and international scientists continued sharing information, NASA's deeper telemetry from Webb remained locked. Reports leaked that certain spectral bands were classified under national security protocols. Some researchers inside the US hinted that the readings contained unexpected frequency patterns that could not be explained as natural. Once again, suspicion grew that what NASA saw was more than it could say. In early November, Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb called for an international committee dedicated to interstellar object research. He argued that secrecy could lead to fear, and only transparency could reveal whether 3I Atlas was a cosmic oddity or something more. His words sparked a movement among scientists and citizens alike. The call to keep all data public spread fast across social media, turning 3I Atlas into a symbol of scientific freedom. As more data arrived, the object began to change again. Its coma expanded dramatically, forming a spiral pattern never seen in natural comets. Spectral readings showed sharp energy spikes near the hydrogen line, the same frequency tied to the wow signal. This couldn't be ignored anymore. The mystery had grown far beyond a single object. It had become a mirror for humanity's biggest question. Are we observing nature or a message written across the stars? And as the world watched, one final discovery was made. ESA's Mars Express detected a faint echo, a reflected pulse coming from the direction of Earth itself. Was it just a coincidence, or was something somewhere responding back? For months, 3I Atlas has challenged everything we thought we knew about space. It came from beyond the stars, moved with impossible precision, and revealed chemical signs that blurred the line between nature and intent. ESA's images gave us proof of its presence, while NASA's silence left questions hanging in the void. 3i Atlas reminds us how little we truly understand our universe. If this was only one visitor, how many others are still out there waiting to be seen?